Hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. This is Friday, April 24th. Another Friday here to support you as you're parenting through these kind of bizarre times, if I may say so myself. I am here weekly to support you and answer any questions that you might have as you're parenting your little ones. During these unprecedented times or just any normal time. So any question is welcome around parenting, life, whatever that may be. So again, my name is Jeanne Marie Paynel. I am a parenting mentor, really here to help you overcome the overwhelm that comes with parenting and help you raise self-sufficient and resilient children with ease. So welcome everybody and thank you for being here. Please let me know where you're joining from. If you can give me a thumbs up if you can hear me properly, and let me know where you're calling in from and what's going on in your part of the world. I'm tuning in from San Diego. The weather has changed these last 2 days. We have kind of summer weather, so a little frustrating not to be able to go out and about, but we are doing our part to really help the situation as much as we can. And my gratitude goes out to all of you who are continuing to work and support everybody, whether health workers, grocery workers, everybody that's really out there on the front line. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I do have a question that came in from Gabriella. Gabriella, hello. What would you recommend for a 20-month-old to help him cope with his new baby brother arrival? Well, first of all, Gabriella, congratulations on expanding your family. And here for me, this is, what I always say is really about storytelling. Really about letting him know ahead of time. So for a 20-month-old, I wouldn't, really share this information too far in advance. Hello, Pat. Too far in advance, just because their notion of time is different than ours. They don't have a concept of time. So definitely, when you are showing and you are physically, unable to do certain things or pick them up and all this, you need to start explaining, why. But again, storytelling. So there are some great books out there that are, I would, choose books that are as realistic as possible about becoming a big brother, about where babies come from, even though, 20 months is still young, but they're amazing. They understand so much more than we give them credit for. So definitely talking about that, and then really talking also into what you might perceive as some issues or emotions that your 20-month-old might have. And you can speak into, sometimes you might get upset because mommy is paying attention to the baby because I need to feed him. So, if you are choosing to breastfeed, for example, that is going to take you away from the 20-month-old. So being just, storytelling about what to expect. And then the most important thing to me is really involving the 20-month-old in the care of the newborn right from the beginning. Really about, it looks like your baby brother or sister needs a burp cloth or needs a diaper. Could you get me one? So really involving them, so giving them that opportunity. And then the other thing that I will highly recommend, and I will put the link below, is to either buy or make a tomponcino. And tomponcino, I have a little video about it, but it's basically a little security pillow that is lovely to carry the newborn. And so not as much is important for the parents, but for anybody else carrying the infant, because the infant stays in their warmth, in their smell, and is just a lot more manageable. And it's wonderful, wonderful for that older sibling, because they feel there's a lot more security. They can hold them. You're not anxious that, they're going to hold them wrong, anything. It's really, you end up holding the whole package. So I'll put the link below of the little video I did, and then a company here in the US that actually makes some wonderful ones. I think in the video there's actually the DIY if you're, have a sewing machine and can sew, or if somebody in your family can do it. I highly recommend those, and I recommend, maybe getting 2 or 3 extra covers, because the covers can be washed and will most probably get soiled in the first time. So hopefully that helps, Gabriella. Storytelling involving your 20-month-old, a tamponcino. And then the other thing that I will say, and this is something very personal, but I think makes a big difference, is really thinking about where the newborn is going to be sleeping, because that can be a source of... Joël, tu peux arrêter. Sorry, my son is wanting to mow the lawn, but I had asked him to wait a little bit. So if I've asked my husband to go ask him to stop for a second, my apologies. Let me close the window. Okay, that's going to be better. Sorry about that. The benefits of having our children home during this stay at home is they are doing things for us. So wonderful. So yes, sorry about that. Gabriella, I was talking about room sharing with the 20-month-old from the beginning. So 20-month-old is a bit young, depending on, if they're sleeping on a floor bed already, what the situation. But to be thinking about that, for me, room sharing when they're young really helps in that situation of maybe jealousy, especially if we're taking baby into our room, and all of this can be a little disturbing for the 20-month-old. So something to consider. And you're welcome to reach out to me, private message me if you want any more details about that. Alrighty. So I wanted to share today this notion of, we've been seeing a lot of the silver lining of this experience, this global experience. And I just wanted to share one for me, very personal, but it has been really lovely. And that is connecting on a regular basis with my extended family. You're very welcome, Gabriella. Glad that could help. And like I said, reach out if you have more questions. So yeah, the silver lining, we've been seeing how people are using Zoom to connect and have happy hour or dance parties or yoga or things like that. Well, for me, it has been, I set up a Zoom. I have a Zoom account, due to my profession. And my father, who's 86, lives in France, in Paris, France. I'm here in San Diego. And there are 6 of us. And we're a little bit spread around the world. And so every Sunday morning for the past 5 weeks, we have been meeting on Zoom on Sunday morning. And it has been delightful. And this is the first time after 20 years of living abroad, of living far from everybody. This is the first time that it's regular and everybody is showing up and we're catching up on everybody's news. And it's just been delightful. So that is my personal kind of silver lining. And I encourage you to set those things up. It's just been such a delight to... And that first Zoom, I can tell you the joy on my father's face to see all of his, children and to see all of the grandchildren. And it's just been delightful. So I will say, some of the sessions are a little bit chaotic because everybody wants to talk. So it takes some, training or whatever, but it's really been wonderful. So highly, encourage you to set those up. If you need information, let me know. They're really simple. and just I think they do a lot of good, especially to those who are really isolated. And my father and stepmother are, alone in their apartment in Paris. They can't see their children and their grandchildren, and it's been 5 weeks now in France, I think even more. And so it's just been really nice to be able to do that for them. So yes, yes, it is wonderful. Anu Kriti. Um, we are about to start out a family meeting on Zoom this Sunday too. Wonderful, Pat. Yes, really, it's been, like I say, it's that silver lining of seeing the good in what is happening. And honestly, for me, I hope that that is something that we continue. And, that's a question for you. What are some of the things that you have been doing these days that you hope to continue or that you will strive to continue? I know for me, we've also been cooking a lot more as a family, of even kind of meal planning, which I never really did before, to be honest. I've always been kind of shop as we need, and see what's in the store and kind of be creative from there. But here, this is different. I haven't literally gone out to grocery shop for 2.5 weeks now, actually 3 weeks. I did a big shopping, and then my husband has gone out once, and that's it. And we're managing what we have, and I get to make a list of the ingredients we have at home, and then we come up with what we're going to cook. And it's been actually delightful to have my son home. He was off at college. He had to come back to be able to isolate here, in confinement here at home. So it's been nice having him, and we've been cooking together, and it's just been delightful. So another silver lining, and I would love to know what yours are. What have you discovered, and kind of what are you really wanting to keep from this learning, as challenging as some of it is? And I think my heart goes out to those who have much bigger challenges of loss of loved ones, loss of work. Just my heart aches for just the turmoil and the sadness and the challenges that are going out around the world, and even in my close community. Yet I know, I'm always optimistic, and I like to get as much of the positivity from it all. So that is what I'm seeing. Live today just popped in. Haha, Maggie. So please let me know, what do you have challenges, concerns, questions around, whether it is parenting or just managing the situation, right? How are you managing your own emotion? How are you checking in with yourself? And that is something that I've shared, over and over again. But I think during these times, more important than anything is really check in with yourself. Like, what do I need right now, today? And you can ask this multiple times a day, and really, really be aware and concerned that we, as the parents, as the adults for our children, we are the barometer of emotion, of anxiety, of stress. So we really need to take good care of ourselves to be able to show up for our children. And I know for our children, this is hard for them, of being taken out of their routines. And at the same time, I see it as this magical time where I see, like, I have a nephew who lives in Manhattan. He's a 5-year-old. He lives in Manhattan with his parents. They decided, right at the beginning, when they saw things going astray, they actually went down to Florida, where they are able to stay in a home. And dad is home, which is very unusual. They're able to have some time together. So my brother is, still working a lot, but this is the first time where they have this extended time, other than vacation, to be together. And they're in this place where, he's picking up bugs and doing chalkboard, chalk art on the sidewalk and everything. And to me, I'm thinking these are going to be these marvelous, marvelous memories, so they're not, they're living in another parallel universe, but our stress level does affect them. So that's why I say we really need to manage our own first and foremost, and be honest with what's going on, not in the gruesome details, but that there is something different going on. So that is what I have to say. So Pat has one question. My 8-month-old baby girl resists napping during the day. She's super whiny and sometimes she falls asleep while sitting. How can I support her to manage her whiny tantrums and emotion? I'm not sure if you received this kind of question, but after working together for a year, you might know more about parents. So sleep and sleep is a learned behavior. So again, we need to manage our own emotion around that. So if we are frustrated and annoyed because our child is not going to go down at a certain time, that will affect, they pick up, right? They're a sponge of our emotions. So managing that, and then making sure that there is really a routine and a rhythm to the day where the child is getting, moments of rest and being consistent about it. So, sometimes we will be able to put a child down for sleep, and they might not fall asleep right away, but that's okay. Let them kind of still have that rhythm that I love you, I'm right here, and this is a time for us to rest. And that's it. Really be consistent with that sleep. And I will encourage you also on this very page. Yesterday I posted, I listened to a very nice Q&A of a RIE consultant. RIE is Resource for Infant Educare, which is very much in line with Montessori and respectful parenting. And she talks about sleep, and it was beautiful. So I would send you to that video. It's right here on this page. You can find it. Because I'm not a sleep consultant, but that is one thing that I do, really believe that our agenda, like how annoyed we might be with the situation and everything, needs to be in check. Needs to, and we need to observe also our child. Like, is this 8-month-old getting enough sleep throughout the night? Is this 9-month-old, 8-month-old, sorry, hungry at a certain time or such? But it's really about having this loving respect for sleep itself, and then for how we are going to engage these babies into consistently going down and really having a lovely kind of ritual around when we go down for sleep. So hopefully that helps. And do check out that video that I posted yesterday. And then Maggie says, oh, it's always a gift to hear your wisdom. Thank you. That is so sweet. Thank you. We are being challenged with our oldest children, 6, going into that second plane. Yes, he has increased aggression and just doesn't seem happy. Of course, I have let him watch way more TV than usual so I can catch a break during the day and recharge a bit. And so I know that plays a part for sure, but do you have any advice for this transitioning child? How can I help him? He loves quality time, and that is his love language. So there you have it. You know that it's quality time, which is very important. So I would, the child who's going into that second plane, and for those of you who or like, what is she talking about? In the Montessori philosophy, we have kind of these 4 planes of development where children have very specific needs and kind of qualities. And so the child that's going into the second plane, which is the 6 to 12 age range, is a child who is really starting to question right and wrong. And so right now he probably is quite frustrated of what's going on, because aren't we all, right? So that being said, I think it's really, really important during that quality time to be really observant and really kind of getting information from him of, I see, I feel that you're sad and you're upset. What's going on? How can we and how can I help you make it better? What is it that you need? And also speak into this, watching TV, because yes, that definitely affects their brain waves and in their aggression and everything. So also speak to that, like talk to him like you're talking to me, and ask those questions to him. Like, this is collaborative work where you can put down the framework, where you can put down the boundaries, but ask him, how can I help you get through this? We're in this together. How can we make this work as a family, right? And so here I would strongly advise doing some family meetings. And I know I talked about this in another live, but family meetings are, to me, a very powerful tool to have. And this, usually we would do it maybe once a month or such. Here I'm saying let's do it every day. Like, let's have a check-in maybe at breakfast when we're together, where we can kind of manage the day of, what am I needing, what are you needing, and because we're all together in this, right, in our communities of families. So that would really be, and then plan those quality times ahead of time, so that when there is that kind of that aggression or whatever, we can also remind them that, oh, remember, I know you're really wanting to spend some time, but remember at 5 we have, we said we would play a game together, or whatever you decided. So there is that, they know what to expect. So hopefully that helps. But, at this age, like I said, it's really this, dilemma of they're really wanting to figure out the right and wrong and what's fair and not fair and all this. So we really need to help them understand that, and really, what are the freedom and discipline kind of aspect of living life on this planet. So hopefully that helps. Yes, okay. Yes, Pat. And you can actually share that video that I'm mentioning, because I know they put it as a replay on YouTube, so you could probably share it in your group with the Thai parents. I think would be really helpful, and maybe you can translate it about it. So let me see here. Anukriti. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And let me, just 1 second, because I forgot to open the window and it's very hot. 1 second, please. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so Anukriti, we give a very Montessori environment to our child, and it looks like she enjoys it. We face problem with spontaneous repetition. Can you share some tips? So can you tell me a little bit more? What is the problem with spontaneous repetition? Do you feel that she's not repeating enough, or she's repeating too much? Remember that repetition is the way that the child masters any skills. So we need to allow them to repeat as many times as they feel it is necessary to master the skill that they're wanting to master. So repetition is really essential for them to repeat. So even if we think, oh my God, is she really going to do that again? It's her need, right? She needs to, because it's her inner guide that is telling her to repeat it. So Anukriti says, once she has done some work, she almost never wants to repeat. So that is different. There, I would challenge you to really observe whether this is really even challenging. Because oftentimes a child, if an activity is not challenging enough, if there's not a piece of that activity that they need to focus on and master, they're not going to be interested. It's going to be boring. It's like, oh, I know how to do this, and they will move on. So there, it's our role as the observant to up the challenge, right? Where we're not upping the challenge to frustrate them or anything, but we're giving them just enough to push themselves without getting stressed or frustrated. So if there is an activity, for example, and I'm just taking, I don't know the age of your child, so I'm just going to say an activity of, cutting, for example. So we've shown them how to cut, and they've mastered, cutting a snippet. That gets, once they've done it, they need another challenge. So maybe it's cutting on lines, maybe it's cutting on squiggly lines, maybe it's cutting out a shape, maybe it's cutting out different material. You see what I mean? It's like always giving just a little bit more challenge, so there is a need to repeat, if that makes sense. 4 years old. So this, I would need to also know a little bit kind of what type of activities. And so sometimes for me, it's really about observing, is it too challenging or is it not enough challenging? And that is, that's our role as to what kind of material activities we put out in front of them. Because if it's too challenging, they're going to be frustrated and they're like, oh, I can't do this. And they're kind of, not wanting. So there we need to observe as to where the difficulty might be. And there it's very simple. We go, oh, let me show you how I do it. Or, or maybe taking a piece of, the presentation out to simplify it a little bit. So hopefully that helps. I know it's kind of hard to not be able to have like the one-on-one discussion to know a little bit more about the activity and such, but that usually is what it's about. So it's really our role to observe so that we can tweak the presentation a bit more, because if they're not repeating, for me, it's oftentimes they're just bored with it and there's no challenge to it, so they're not needing to repeat it. But you'll see, once there is an activity that they're like, this, I really have to figure this one out, they will repeat over and over again. And it's funny because when I shared the cutting, when I was in the classroom, I had this little girl who must have been about 3 or so. And her routine, and this was, this is the beauty of Montessori, is that we let them, choose that work. Every single morning, her routine was she had to cut some snippets before getting on to any other work. And then she would choose completely different work. But she would say good morning, we would greet each other, lovely to see you and all this. And she would go do her little cutting, put it away, and then choose something else. That was her. And then once she really mastered that, she, didn't need to pick it up. She would, do a more challenging. So it's fascinating, this whole idea of repetition. So definitely want to encourage it. Lovely. Well, this has been delightful. Thank you all for being here live. Thank you all of those who will be watching on the replay. again, I love to know where you're tuning in from, because this community is global, and especially during these times, we're living this global experience together. So I know we're not all being challenged in the same way, but it is a global pandemic, and I think it's making us realize a lot of things. And like I said, I would also love to know what has been the silver lining for you, what has been the positive aspect of all of this, and what is the one thing that you hope to continue even when we go back to, you know, the normal that we don't know what that's going to be like, right? So wishing you all a beautiful Friday, beautiful weekend, and I will be back next Friday, 10 a.m. to answer all of your questions. Bye bye for now.